items on the closed agenda session were discussed in the closed session. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, the motion carries. If you will all join me, I can't stay here for the meeting. I'll lead the pledge. All right, I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First up, we have our consent agenda, our minutes from our April 16th general meeting. Had a chance to review those. No questions, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second? Second. No other discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. Next up, Dr. Frazier, recognitions.
Good evening, everyone. As I try to pull up since I left my laptop, as I try to pull up everything, I am going to ask that Miss Britt and Miss Berger start with their recognition. So they will come forth with students and teachers recognition.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the Westwood Elementary School, our RISE Student of the Month is Nico Parsley. His teachers report that Nico is a friendly, sweet fourth grade student. He exhibits a positive attitude towards the school environment and shows excellence in always putting forth his best effort. He is a hard worker and always perseveres through all challenging tasks. He has outstanding self-advocacy skills and builds relationships and enjoys helping his peers in the classroom. His behavior is exemplary and he serves as a positive role model for his peers. He has excellent citizenship skills and regularly follows established routines and procedures. And our teacher, our May Rise Award teacher is Allison Bolt, and her unwavering dedication to her students and commitment to best practices have resulted in remarkable growth and impressive results with a drive toward excellence. Ms. Bolt's teaching style effectively incorporates technology and innovative practices, keeping students engaged and allowing for immediate feedback. She collaborates seamlessly with her fourth grade team, serving this year as the team lead. Beyond the classroom, she contributes significantly to our school community by creating the school yearbook and serving on many committees.
Very good.
So our RISE students for this month, for the middle school, we have Brady Carlton. Brady builds relationships with his peers and staff members by showing kindness and respectfulness, and he also demonstrates excellence in the classroom. He's always on time, ready to begin class, and is a hardworking student and example for his peers. Our high school student of the month is Tori Clapper. She's in the 9th grade. Tori's teachers describe her as kind, hardworking, and a team player. She demonstrates an excellent work ethic and is always happy to help others when they need help, and she's very understanding. So we definitely appreciate them. In the month of May, we did not do a specific teacher of the month. We have been testing, remediating, retesting, chasing down potential graduates, etc. So I think our entire staff deserves a shout out for the entire month of May.
Can we give one more round of applause for all of our students and our staff? So during the month of May, we have also celebrated School Principals Day, School Lunch Hero Day. Thank you, Misty and your group. Teacher Appreciation Week, where we celebrated all of our teachers and our instructional staff. School Nurses Day, National Student Pathologist Day, and we also will celebrate graduation on this Friday. Month-long activities have been National Mental Health Awareness Month, National Appreciation Month, and National Physical Fitness and Sports Month. So at this time, I have a special presentation, and I would like to ask Fabio from Amos to come here. And so, I would like to present this Business Honor Roll Award to you for all that you and your team at Annis do to support Westmont Public Schools. You all go above and beyond. You all have allowed our students to come inside the restaurant. You have brought experiences to the schools for students. You all help provide pizzas for all types of events that we had. And we just want you to know that we are very appreciative of all that you all do. So thank you for your support of Westmont Public Schools.
I want to make sure that my staff gets most of the credit for this because we couldn't do any of what we do without them. Like, they are just so amazing. So thank you.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much. Thank you. I'll see you all later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Pizza now.
I know.
And that completes my recognitions.
Thank you, Dr. Frazier. Next up, instructional presentation, Ms. Bird.
Yes, in this can. So I wanted to share with you all, and Kate's gonna help me, we started a Renaissance Club this year. I say we, I'm just taking credit for something I did not do. Mr. Claver and a team of teachers chose some students to start a Renaissance Club, and they went to a convention and came back fired up of ways that they want to see the school changed, enhanced, and become more welcoming. So I'm going to present part of what we've worked on thus far with this group, and then Kate also has a piece of the presentation. So one of the things, I met with them, and I'm going to show you the Post-it notes that some of the things we worked on, because I wanted feedback from them about our school. And so question one was, what are the unique characteristics of our community? So they split into groups, and you will see, I can't read it now, that academics are one of our key characteristics. But it's interesting to me that our students are very perceptive, and they feel like that we have a lot of students who are very academically oriented and achieve, but they recognize they have some classmates that struggle in school, and that really bothered them. In the conversation, some of it centered around, what are you doing, Ms. Bird, to help our classmates who struggle? And so we have some very compassionate students as well. They're very concerned about that. Kate, I'm gonna get you to hold this one because we're gonna have those. So this group really kind of went all out on question number one. What makes us pointers? They said we're accepting, we go above and beyond, they represent themselves well, they love their lively environment that they create. This last one, they value their education with their teachers. The comment one student made I thought was very insightful. She said, we love our teachers, and building relationships with our teachers is one of the things that make us want to come to school. We love having relationships with our teachers, them being at games, being able to joke around with them, those relationships. They really talked about that a lot, so I was thankful for that. Kudos for that. And this group as well brought out, when they say good, bad work ethic, they said they noticed a difference between students who come to school and are motivated and students who are struggling with motivation or with grades or in any kind of way, maybe with mental health issues. And so again, for this group, they're concerned about what's happening to their classmates on many different levels. So question two was, what do you want your school to look like? So we got an inclusive environment. This group was really into what makes us pointers. They want it to be positive. They want students to have behavior expectations and to be behaving and respectful. they want representation in decisions and decision making. And they would love some more class choices. They were great. One of them was like, why don't we have home ec? And I said, well, find me a home ec teacher and we'll see what we can do, you know. But they also looked at me and said, why aren't we a Blue Ribbon school? I said, well, why don't we figure out how to get there and let's do it. So the kids are very concerned and want to know more about classes, academics, and what they can do to help one another. So the last one I asked are, what are the things that we value? So again, we have academics, athletics, student mental health came up multiple times. Student-teacher relationships were very important. And this visuals of the school, it popped up in some other conversations, and this is kind of a segue into Kate, is they want their school to look on the inside more welcoming. You know, they made comments about, you know, the murals in the cafeteria, and they want to see more, you know, color and school spirit just present in the building itself. So a couple of their suggestions we've already started working on, which is really exciting. But Kate, this is where she takes it over to talk about some of the things they've talked about as students, what the students are talking about they want in their building and grounds as well.
Okay, so the Renaissance team is also called All In. That's the actual name of the club, is what we really refer to it as. We're basically about making the school better and just seeing what we can do to make a difference in our school and make a difference to our students. We don't want we don't want a club that says they want stuff to happen but doesn't actually get things done. That's what we're dedicated to. That's why we took the seminar, and when we went, we really learned a lot. There were a lot of things that we could take to use at our school. Sorry, I just spit everywhere. Sorry. And then, so we wanted to make a difference by making a club, obviously, and then after we made the club and talked about what we thought we could do and how to move on and move forward with these things, we talked to the principal, Ms. Bird, and had to talk to her about how we could actually make these things happen. And she talked to us as well. We have had many meetings about what we could do to improve, what we would like to see, and how likely those things are to happen. Our third and final thing is coming to you guys to see if we can actually make this happen with funding and all of that. What we actually want to do is to improve the feeling of our school. We really want more color, like she said, and we want to see more school spirit. When the murals got taken away, we were super sad. I remember it was the first year I was actually in West Point school systems, and I was super upset because I went there for orientation the last year and I loved the murals, and when I came back it was like the first day people were like, oh my god, all the murals are gone, and really upset about it. So that was like a core memory for me. But one of the things that we really would like to do is increase the size of the weight room, simply because so many people go to the weight room, whether it's girls or boys. Well, now it's mostly boys, but if we have a bigger size weight room, it could increase the likelihood of more people coming, and more people being able to actually talk to other people from different friend groups and become more inclusive. That's what usually happens now. We have guys from the same friend group and then guys from other friend groups, and they all mix in the weight room, and it's like so small that they don't have any other choice to talk to people. But that's like something they would love to see happen, and they've been talking about that since I got there as well. I came from New Kent originally, and I saw in New Kent growing up that they had this outdoor facility that was kind of like a greenhouse without trapping the heat. It was more of like a warehouse or something, and it was really nice. It had all of that in there, like all the equipment in there, and it was super constructed well, and very easy for the people to come and go as they please. And that's something that we would really love to have done. And so okay, I don't know how to say that. The process we would like to go to is we would like to talk to you guys about funding and see if this is actually plausible and see if we can actually make this happen. And we'd also like to hopefully get the funding and start having the plans be built and, make sure that this is something someone would be able to build for us, and then maybe talking about where on the grounds we would put it. It would also then, hopefully get built, and then fourth, we add the equipment and get the process of people coming in and able to make new friends. I just feel like it'd be a lot more inclusive of new people, and people would just enjoy being able to work out with new people. And then, thanks.
So do you have any idea how much would be required to build such?
We haven't, not yet. We just thought, actually coming to you guys and seeing the reactions to the idea would be a better, we'd be able to see if this is actually something you guys would be willing to do first before we actually looked at funding and looked at all that. Getting funding would be amazing, of course, but it's completely up to you guys and whether you would be able and willing to do this.
So, great awareness and an idea, I think, on y'all's part. One thing that maybe is behind the scenes, Dr. Frazier has been working on, so we have a capital budget plan that we look at improvements to make, and I believe the weight room is on there, right? And so I don't know if Dr. Frazier has anything he wants to share around.
There definitely is a weight room on there, but we also know that all of this happening is us working with the town. And so because the school division would have to go to the town for money. And so how soon would this happen is the question.
Right.
So we have some plans in place to do some upgrades to the current weight room this summer. And so one way to get more space is to take some of the equipment and mount it to the walls. So mounting the equipment to the walls and frees up more floor space in the current weight room. So those are some things that we're planning to do in the immediate, but we are also having those conversations with the town about how we can secure additional dollars to build something else. There've also been some conversations about, could we bring in a modular unit for a weight room? And so I think you presenting tonight will help us have additional conversations to see what can we do and when we can do it. Because if we can do something sooner rather than later, I would support it. And I say that because I know that this has been something that has been on the hearts of folks for quite some time. So I think that this definitely is a conversation starter, and we can see what some of those next steps might be.
I'd say a great job of recognizing the role relationships play. I think in a weight room, something as simple as a weight room, right? Like we think of it as athletes getting stronger, but I think your group's really identified one of the core principles of our strategic plan is relationships, right? And I think you guys see that and how you can make something that's practical a part of that relationship. So I think that's great work on y'all's part to do that.
You still have your poker chip?
Yes, it's at home in my book bag. I carry it with me in my
Very good.
maybe lost in there, but.
I was at the conference too, so
Yeah.
Oh,
it's an
seminar?
inside,
Okay.
it's an insider's
Yeah.
thing here.
Yeah, we just have that special relationship.
Yeah.
That's great. Though. Good work, Kate.
Yes.
Be stronger together if we get this way. Great, awesome, thank you. First up on our reports, Ms. Osborne, the community eligibility provision.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kate. So, thank you.
Good evening. How are y'all? It's nice to see you. All right, put your
can honestly say this is the first time I've ever asked Dr. Frazier to put me on the agenda. And I'm very excited about this. Yeah. I'm here tonight to talk about community eligibility provision, which is also known as the CEP. The CEP is a non-pricing meal service for schools and school districts, which allows us to feed all students breakfast and lunch at no cost, without the use of household applications. Last October, they changed the rule. It used to be that you had to have an identified student percentage of 40% to qualify. Knowing how the world is, they dropped it to 25%. When they lowered it, it made West Point eligible. This is where I get excited. So I don't pay attention. All right, the ISP is the percentage of enrolled students that we have that are certified free through the government. Direct certified. They're not reduced. They're not income-based applications. It's just these particular children. That's what we have to meet the requirement. We have to have over and above 25%. Elementary school has 32.11, high school has 28.73, so we qualify as a whole district. 30.35. So these children can all eat for free next year, breakfast and lunch, without anybody having to do anything, filling out an application, doing So, if you go back to when meals were free, and everybody ate, and there was no stigma, nobody thought about it, you just came. In October of 21, we did almost 8,000 breakfasts as a district and 95 lunches. This past October, we only did 5,000 breakfasts and 7,400 lunches, which is almost a difference of 5,000 meals in a month. And I know that there are parents in this community that cannot afford to feed their children. I talk to them regularly, I email them regularly. So going back to no stigma, you don't think about it and everybody just eats. It doesn't matter if you're in line, it changes everything. So basically it's a 4-year program that you just sign up for. And well, it's not that you sign up, but it's in 4-year increments. So you do 4 years and then you look at that report and you do another 4 years. So basically we qualify for everything. I just have to submit the information to the DOE, and they have an entire toolkit of letters that go out, social media that goes out, that makes the community aware, and they don't have to do anything. So, that's my thing. I'm so excited, I can't say it. Like, I'm tickled.
So it will be our plan to submit that application to the DOE this summer, and so we can then notify families that all students will be able to have breakfast and lunch in this division for free.
And I left my piece of paper in the car, but CEP came out in like school year 14-15, and it was only, they asked you if you wanted to participate. So there was like 100 schools in the state of Virginia that only service like 50,000 children. Now in this year, there's close to 1,200 schools feeding over 625,000 students for free.
So it doesn't change like the food that we serve, it's the same quality,
Everything's identical. It's just being reimbursed on a different system. I know it's a lot. Like I told Dr. Frazier, I put in the numbers over spring break because it was April 1st. And I knew we qualified, and I put the numbers in, and I looked at it, and then it said exempt. And I sat there and I looked at it and I said, that can't be right. And then I looked at it again and I was reading it wrong. And then I just started to cry. Because like at the time, it's like they're really telling me we can do this. When they dropped the number to 25, it changed everything.
Yeah.
I just,
And there, everything's changed.
I commend Miss Misty for her hard work and everything that she's put into this. She's spent a lot of hours calculating to see if this would work. Also just remembering that our school nutrition department is self-sufficient, and so the money that they make from school nutrition, that goes to salaries, that goes to equipment, that goes to food, that goes to everything. And so Misty has been able to do that, and even with the calculation of going to with having all students being able to eat for free, we believe that we will be able to sustain this moving forward. So this is exciting for this division.
I have no doubt that we'll sustain it. I think this is gonna be a good thing, because everybody will be eating anyway.
Yeah.
Participation's gonna go up, everything's gonna change. I think it's gonna be good. And just so y'all know, this summer, last year I rebuilt the high school freezer, walk-in freezer, because it was old. This year we're gonna rebuild the elementary school one, because I think that's original to the building. And I'm also getting a new, what I'm gonna call central freezer, where all the government food will come, and it's 24 feet by 2 feet. It's humongous. And that should be starting on June 10th.
Awesome.
And again, all the monies that she has in school nutrition, pay for all of those things.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
thank you.
If y'all have any
Thank
questions,
you.
don't hesitate to ask, and I'm gonna just push it on down the line. Thank y'all very
Thank
much.
you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Alright. Dr. Hauser, all in, obviously.
I don't know that I can compete with free food. The instructional side of me is very excited that all of our children will be learning with food in their bellies, so that makes me very happy as well. Thank you. Misty, thank you. All right, so all in, we had all in group earlier, now we have all in Virginia tutoring. I know, but we're just all in everything. So just to review, what is all in tutoring? It was our high intensity tutoring program where we applied for a grant earlier in the year and received money through the state of Virginia Department of Education to work with students after school and at an accelerated rate and to work with the students who are most at risk at each grade level, grade 3 through 8. So students in grades 3 through 8 who the Department of Education predicted would fail their end of year reading and math SOLs. So they collect data through growth assessments, they collect all kinds of data on students across the state, and it just about scared us half to death when we first looked at the list. At first, they had every single third grader failing. But that was because the third graders hadn't learned the content yet, so a little calibration by the state, and we got that number down to a more manageable number. So students identified, here you can see 3rd 15, 4th 13, 5th 12, 6th 4, and 7th 7. I think that's just a coincidence, but 7. And put the call out, as you may or may not recall, some school divisions were using high school students and some were using community members, which was interesting just philosophically because, if our teachers can't teach the students, but we're expecting a high school student to teach them, make up 3 years of time, that made us a little uncomfortable as an instructional leadership team. So we weren't sure if our teachers would be up for the challenge, just because it's a lot of additional work, but they were. These are the teachers who said, of course we will work with the kids. So you can read the list there. I won't read it to you, but some real leadership there as far as our teachers wanting to work with these kids and get them caught up. So this is different from Afternoon Academy or 8th period. Afternoon Academy and 8th period is when you work with a teacher who teaches you that material and you get caught up in what is being taught to you currently. This was going back 3 to 4 years and meeting students where they were and trying to get them to grow. And we certainly hoped some of them would pass their SOLs, but we were also very real in thinking about that. Can we make up 3 years of schooling in just a few weeks? But I'll go into a little more detail with that in a minute. So we had only 8 weeks by the time the money got there and our program was approved. And we were able to start this year, thankfully. A lot of school divisions couldn't get themselves together because it was a lot. But it was 8 weeks, Tuesday through Thursday, and 45 minutes per day. So that equals 18 hours of instruction. So it's hard sometimes when we look at this as an instructional team to think it was only 18 hours, but it's 18 extra hours. So just think if you give 18 hours of your time to learning something, what you can accomplish. So these were the obstacles that we faced. Students who are just really far behind. Attendance, the middle schoolers especially will run to the bus and get on it before their teacher can say, hey, you're supposed to be here for tutoring later on. Parent support, and that's not to say parents were not supportive, but a lot of our students have other things that they do or are really involved with after school. So it really came down to being a family decision if a family was going to support, a tutoring program for these 8 weeks, or if a family would rather see their child participate in, a league sport, or traveling team, or dance, or some other kind of activity. So maybe I should have put parent priority because it is a little bit different there. But we did have parents who understandably said, my kid is there for 8 hours a day. They're not going to be there for 9 hours a day. They come home exhausted and tired and frustrated. From the learning, especially these kids who are behind. Everyone being at a much different level was an obstacle. The range of scores was challenging. If you have a student who's in 6th grade, who's in 2nd grade, who's on 2nd grade math level, and then you have one who's on 3rd or 4th, there's a big difference there with the groups of students. So this is also our own sports and activities took away our 8th graders. Commitments, just level of commitment to something that's so time consuming. Students have meetings, students have illness, things go on, to affect that block of time. But, good news. So in 3rd grade, we had 15 students in reading who were predicted to fail. And so 3 of them passed. Now, at first, it's hard not to look at things from a deficit model and say, only 3 of the 15, passed, but 3 of the kids who were 3 or more years behind passed their SOL for that year's content area. So hip, hip, hooray, that is a victory. Math, 15 predicted to fail, and 7 passed, so we're able to make up some time. The same with 4th, except for, holy smoke, 4th grade reading, 13 predicted to fail, 11 passed. 13 in math predicted to fail, and 12 passed. So that was tremendous. And kudos to Ms. Britt, Ms. Waddy, Ms. Farmer, and the 4th grade team. Every single 4th grade teacher and person who worked with 4th grade was a tutor. So even as Ms. Britt recognized Ms. Bolt earlier, she collected the data. Even though she teaches social studies and science, she was teaching reading and math to a group of students. So they were all in for sure. 5th grade, 12 predicted to fail, but 3 passed, and 12 predicted to fail math, but 6 passed. That's amazing. 6th grade reading, 4 predicted to fail, 0 passed, but there was growth. It's just the 6th graders, as you matriculate older, as you work your way up into grade levels, there's even more content. So catching a 3rd grader up with reading and math, you can only be that so far behind because you just had like 4 years of schooling and learning these things. But with 6th grade, we saw some real deficits. Nobody's fault, but a lot of these friends have been in several different models of school or schools, and things go on, life happens. And when life is happening, it's hard to focus on school. Particularly when you get behind, it's just easier to stay behind, and that's terrible. But we have to get them caught up. So they grew, but they didn't pass there, and of course passed. But who cares? They're growing, and we're gonna catch them up. But anyway, that's my little aside. And then in 7th grade, reading 6 were predicted to fail, but 4 passed out of those 6. And in math, 6 were predicted to fail. And actually, I was told today by Mr. Cole that 4 of them passed, because 1 passed on an expedited retake. And now other students were identified for the All-In program, but declined because of some of those obstacles. So that's why you see a drop of the numbers in 6th and 7th grade, because those students' parents and students had other commitments or other things that they were doing. So it was a relatively small group, but the group that we worked with here, we had some success. So just to keep in mind, growth does not always mean passing a passing SOL score. So lots of our students grew, even if they passed the test, they were able to catch up or catch up to a certain degree. So just an example of a student is 3 years behind and you move them up a year and a half, they're still a year and a half behind. So they still don't pass that year's content test, but they grew. So test SMIS, like if they're growing, that's what they're supposed to be doing. Other considerations, so this isn't some miracle thing that happened with All In. It was just one of many things we're doing to get our kids on the right track. So all this time that All In is happening, Tier 1 instruction is still going on. So they still have teachers all day teaching them. So we can't just discount that or separate that from these scores. Other interventions are still happening. So many of these students are learning under the co-teaching model. They are participating in Title I interventions. They have a rotating intervention block and all kinds of differentiated strategies and so forth happening. So this isn't the only intervention or program that they're participating in. We're taking lots of different opportunities to get some of these friends caught up. So I just want to be sure you don't think, oh, All In is like some miracle happened. No, but the students who participated in All In addition to having some of these things, they did great. So now we're getting ready for All In Summer Academy, which I presented last time. So 4 weeks this summer, very intense learning opportunity, but we're hoping, like what I told you before, so if you look back, and you have, in 5th grade, so in math, 12 were predicted to fail, but 6 passed. So let's grab a hold of the remaining 6 for Summer Academy. And maybe some of those friends who did pass but still need some shoring up, they can come too, and we will slowly get people on the right track. So we've been doing this work all along. This is just another thing we're working on to try and get everyone growing and learning and able to kind of stay with their class and keep moving along. So please tell me if you have any questions.
Well, it's really nice to see this, that there's been progress. That's awesome.
Yeah.
My question was, realistically, given what you know about other things for Summer Academy, what do you think the enrollment will be? And do you think most of the students that didn't pass will actually be present?
I wish I could say yes. So I think realistically, we're probably hoping to get half, but I still feel really good about that because we're continuing to chip away at it. So like in the example that I just said, so if they predicted 12 in 5th grade math would fail and 6 passed, if we can get 3 to come in for Summer Academy and 3 to be in a much better place when they start school next year, that's amazing. And so some of that is, self-selected as far as, we like to work with students in small groups, and that's highly impactful. So if a teacher is supposed to have 12 or however many the numbers say we need to have, and only has 6, there's an advantage to that too. So hopefully those 6 kids can get farther. But we're really all in trying to contact our parents and really have conversations and not just say, can you check the form because your kid needs to, check your form because your student really would, take advantage of this opportunity, but actually talk to people and explain, this is what we're doing, and we hope your child can attend. So.
Personal contact.
Yeah, and people who, we've already met, Stacey, Christy, and Laurel and myself, and talked about we can divide the list, because there's one of us who knows everybody. There's somebody who knows everybody on the list, so if we call and just explain and give parents a chance to ask questions, so it's not just, something out there floating in space, I think it will make a difference. And some people are traveling, some people visit family and grandparents, and kids do other things, and some kids honestly might really need a break and just need to be away from school and do something different. But anyone that we can work with who wants to come in would be amazing. So just chip away slowly. other questions?
Good work.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. Allen.
Thank you.
Mr. Leach, any summer voting updates for this summer?
I'm gonna try to multitask here. So each spring we kind of bring to the board kind of what's on the agenda for summer plans. Last year we came around this time and talked about the library projects. We renovated both libraries. So we have two kind of bigger projects this summer that I'm going to go through. One is stemming from Dr. Hauser's presentation last month, talking about pre-K expansion and moving from 2 classrooms to 3. And I think one of the questions was where are they going to go? So looking and working with Ms. Britt, we're going to use the makerspace room in the makerspace room in the elementary school. And in that space, we have a couple things we want to do, which I'm going to share in a second. One is to move a doorway. So right now, there's 2 doorways that go to the same space. So we're going to move this doorway over here. In the event that we ever want to block off a little more space for storage, or like a multi-purpose meeting room or things like that, when the teachers need to meet with students or parents. Right now, like I said, there's 2 doors there. If we move it down, then we have this little area right here which we can make into a multi-purpose space. The picture on the right is, obviously we want to have a bathroom there if possible for our pre-K students. There is a bathroom right outside of this door right here, but it's always nice to have one right inside the classroom. So we're working with some folks to get some drawings and see what it would take to make that happen. So this little cubby would be a bathroom and then a closet for more storage. And this would be the 3-year-old pre-K room, right across from the STEAM room in the elementary school, down near the annex. So we think we can make that happen kind of in phases. The door will be phase 1, and then looking at the bathroom, and then eventually the wall, if we get in there and realize we have enough space, 1, and 2, if there's a need for more storage or that multi-purpose area. The other big project is cafeterias. So we were fortunate enough to get some ARPA funds from the town, and that's what paid for the libraries last year. So we've worked with the same group that helped us last year with the libraries, Total Business Solutions, Chuck Page with Page Electric. If you've been in the cafeterias since spring break, you notice they're a lot brighter. So he had already adjusted all those LED lights. And then we've talked with Limitless Graphics to kind of spruce the visuals up in those spaces and throughout the schools. You've heard Kate talk about that. And it wasn't a shameless plug. I didn't know she was going to say that, but it just kind of worked out that it all flowed. So these pictures that I'm going to show you aren't set in stone. Obviously, we are looking at adding furniture to the elementary cafeteria. Currently, they have all tables like this, but they are a bench seat. They're not individual seats. So when we look at capacity, you can fit, maybe 15 pre-K kids on there, as opposed to here we're going to put 12, just kind of spread them out. They each have their own spot. And then these little clusters of oval tables would all be for specific classes. So one thing I know Ms. Britt is big on is making sure we kind of contain some of the noise in there. So we did look at sound panels. And sound panels are expensive. If we've never priced out sound panels would have been almost twice as much as all the furniture for that space. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be kind of like priority 2, priority 3 down the road to see where funding lies. But this would allow for more flexibility and allow for more grouping of those individual classes as we move through. Also in the elementary school, we've talked about adding some wall art. We finalized these pictures. I guess we got them back last week. Dr. Frazier and I met with Mr. Williams. So these are not set in stone, but once you put them up, it's a lot harder to take down. So we figured it's important for you guys to see that and get some feedback on them. All in all, this process will take about a month to get the graphics finalized, get them up, get them installed. And obviously we only have about 8 weeks to 9 weeks over the summer, so we need to move a little bit faster. Again, adding more color. These doors are the doors to the serving line. So students come out here. So as soon as you walk into the elementary cafeteria, this will be the first thing you see. And this will be on the left-hand wall when you walk in. Right now there's a screen there. We probably move that. But again, just adding a little more visuals to that space. I mentioned the libraries earlier, so you can kind of see the new furniture and the new flooring, but there is kind of a bare wall there. So as we talked about adding some artwork, these words flowed nicely into the pointer pledge that the students do every morning. So we thought that was nice for the older students to read that, but then also some visuals for our pre-K kids and our kindergarten kids. You know, kind of get them excited as they read books and things like that, or listen to stories. That's just another visual on that wall. Again, nothing set in stone. We did share it with the elementary library or librarian to get some feedback. So again, these are just things for you to consider and provide feedback to Dr. Frazier and myself. Do you have anything you want to share about the library? All right. Moving over to the high school. Everyone loves this brown tile out here in the foyer. But we are looking to make some adjustments just to add a little bit of color. So this rendering, again, as you walk in, you see that. And then these would be the doors as soon as you walk in before you go to that hallway. You wouldn't be able to see through them, so that adds an extra layer of safety to that hallway. And this, I think, is very similar to what is on the band trailer as well. So it's the same group that did that. Once you get through those doors, this is the front hallway area. You see this bench that was put in a few years ago when the lockers were removed. But again, just add a little more color to that space. That's a pretty busy hallway since everyone goes through past there to go to lunch. And as we have guests or things like that in the building, that's one of the first areas that they see. So this would be the new design of the cafeteria. Again, everything's on wheels so we can move it around. But one thing that when Dr. Frazier met with the student group is they talked about flexibility and having multiple options for seating. So right now, all we have really are these long rectangular tables. We have several round tables, but in this drawing, we have booth seating. These would be a high top table with 8 seats and tall stools, some more booth seating. We would be able to repurpose our current round tables because they're not that old, and then add in a few more. We'd get brand new rectangular tables, and then these would be high top tables as well. We're also going to keep the bar top. We didn't realize that was such a hit with the students, but they mentioned that they would really like us to keep that. And then we'll probably add some shelving here for condiments, microwaves, things like that to make it a little more easy and accessible to students. This is the backstage area. So again, a similar design to what you saw in the hallway there. There's a lot more that would fill that entire wall. And then as you come around, the serving lines are here. And this will be one of the first visuals you see when you walk in. I think this was the last drawing that he did. So we haven't had a lot of conversations about it. There's also been some talk about adding some color to the tile in the cafeteria. So that's kind of the same color as in the front. And then we've also looked at adding like display panels. So we do announcements, we can do streaming, we'll do meetings in there. We're not rolling things in and just kind of make it more of a multi-purpose space for classrooms or things that they need to do in the school.
So you can see in that picture that the tile essentially will be painted gray and not the brown tile that is currently in a lot of the areas at the school.
So it's a lot of information, a lot to think of. We've probably gone back and forth on these different drawings and concepts and shared feedback with administrators and things like that. The next step as we finalize this will be then to go to students. Dr. Frazier has a group that he meets with to kind of get their feedback, but that's kind of the next step in that process. And like I mentioned earlier, the guy from Limitless Graphics thinks about a month time frame from once we say yes to get the designs printed and then installed, as most of them will be vinyl on the wall.
Some of these are pretty high traffic areas. They've talked about how abuse resistant they are on the cafeteria and where there's a lot of trays and tables and stuff bouncing around.
Yeah, we talked about that. So in this picture, we probably get it adjusted a little bit because of the booths. So obviously this is not gonna be as high traffic. But over here with the booth, they would probably raise it up a little bit or just do like a blank paint behind it. So if we ever move the booths out, it's not just a plain white section of where that was. But yeah, there's a question we had, especially back to this area. You know, students are sitting there and picking at it or things like that, but he felt that was, his product was pretty durable for that.
So I had emailed Dr. Frazier about some of these graphics. I'm not a fan, I'm gonna be honest with you. I asked Gabby her input on the high school stuff, and she said It felt like Paw Patrol. So my question, the comment that Kaden made was they liked the murals. They liked the artwork that was done by students that was there previously. That gives them a buy-in, a connection to the school, like, oh, hey, class of whatever did that, or the musical, that was what was all over the cafeteria. If y'all know, it was murals of musicals that had been performed in there when it was an auditorium. This just seems very, to me, cold. Like, it's just like, it's not even painted, like it's a vinyl wrap. And I saw the results you gave me on the feedback on the logo. There was a lot of negativity about the logo when it was put out on Facebook. So I don't know. I'm the elementary school is one thing. I don't really like the one in the library. I think that's too busy for a library. I think it should be a little bit less. The one in the cafeteria is cute. I'm not a fan of the ones for the high school. I don't think it's high school level. I don't think it gives the kids any buy-in to what's in there. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for what it's worth. But I think we definitely need student input. An alternative, like why can't we paint? Why does it have to be these vinyl wraps? Like why can't we brighten things up with a more traditional way, but still make it look inviting?
So I think the one thing that I'll add is when it comes to the murals, the group that I met with earlier, they said that they did want to see, they felt like the school looked like an institution, right? That was the word the students used, and so they wanted to see the things brightened. They wanted to see colors, and they wanted to be able to focus on that point when they're on point of pride. So using the orange and blue throughout. And the concern with the murals was, if ever, when you decide to go away from the murals and you decide to go with something else, you have that emotional piece that's tied to the murals because you have certain classes or certain musicals or the emotional piece. And that was something that came from the students because they had heard the conversations from their older siblings and whatnot when the murals were painted over. So we talked about, at that time, how we can incorporate some more student design and some other ways around the school where it's not, where it's more temporary. And so doing some banners throughout the building or some framed work, but not necessarily something that's on the wall in a permanent way.
So why not maybe paint the wall in a different way, and then you have the artwork that you rotate through that takes, that becomes the focal point for however much long, and then maybe the next year you put up different artwork. You still have a brightly colored, you can still have a nice wall that isn't the brown tile and whatever, but it's not this. Like, this just feels very, I don't know. I would, if I was a high school student, this would feel very generic and I wouldn't want to walk into it. I think the other unique piece about our building is it is not just a high school. So it is a high school, middle school. So it is a 6 through 12 school. But it is nothing wrong. It is nothing wrong with painting. This was just the plan that the team moved, like this is just the direction the team went in. But if this is not the direction that the board feels like we should go in, then we will start from scratch and come up with something different.
I think we should let the students take a survey, like give them options. They're the ones that have to be there.
Absolutely. And I had been all about student voice. That's why I met with the group before. Like Mr. Luke shared, we received the feedback. Well, we received these last drawings at the end of last week, like on Friday, and so surveying the students, getting a quick survey together for the students is next on the list. But we also wanted to be able to share with the board because we know that the work is like school ends next week, and the work's gonna need to start happening sooner rather than later.
What was the feedback you sent the pictures for the elementary school library to the librarian? Did she give you any feedback yet? Has she had a chance to?
I'll let Ms. Brick, she didn't say anything specific to me. She said she liked them. And I think she liked something other than the bright white wall.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know
Well, yeah,
if Ms. Long shared anything with you.
No, but I can't get returns.
I'm just curious. It's her space, and so maybe she has ideas.
And so I'm actually the one that went to the school and showed her the graphic. And one thing that she did say with the original graphic,
it's up the one with
The left is the original.
This one.
Right, that's the original. She did think that one was too busy, and so that's when we went back to the limitless graphics and came up with the second option with the more of the words on the wall and smaller images. But the librarian also thought that it was appropriate to still incorporate images because she's thinking about her smaller children in the library who cannot read some of those words. So she thought that this was better. And and it was important to me to have that conversation with her because, like you said, she's the one that's looking at this all day.
Well, and she'll know too better how kids will respond to it. Is it going to be distracting? Because that's one of the things as teachers they tell us, you shouldn't have too much stuff on your walls in your classroom because then it becomes busy and you distract the students, and it's like this, how much you put on your walls kind of thing. So she would know best, I would think, as far as what she does in the library and what they would respond to. What is the cost for doing all of these? Like the vinyl wraps versus, or just what's the cost for doing the wraps, right?
Right, they are vinyl wraps.
Okay.
And so there are a complete cost was not provided. It is individual costs because it is a menu option of which piece we want to go with. And what the vendor suggested is that some of these things we do get painted. So the West Point, the stripe in the middle school, high school cafeteria with the orange and blue at the top and the home of the corners, recommended getting that painted because if they were to provide that stripe in vinyl, that was going to be $11,000. And so that's where now we're also looking for painters to see how we can make that happen with paint. I don't have the quote in front of me, but I can share that with you all.
Or even if the students come back, right, and they say, we love this, like I'm looking at the cafeteria one right now, I would love that, right? Maybe there's an option though where you have the kids get the buy-in in it where, you can project it onto the wall and they paint it. Like, it's still something that they're connected to, and it's not, I don't know. That's just something that, I just feel like it's just not a connection for them, but that's for them to decide. I think with the student survey needs to go out, see what their opinion is, but I think the more buy-in the kids have into it, the more they're gonna appreciate it, the more they're gonna care for it. And you're right, there's an emotional connection to murals, but that's also why they're so good. It's because there's an emotional connection, and so when people walk in, they say, oh, I did that, or my friend did that, or my sister did that, or my grandma did that. So even though there is a downside as far as when it's time to kind of renovate or repaint, at least for that period, those murals were in the cafeteria for how long? Elliot, I mean, those are some old murals, right?
It was a long time.
But it was something that everyone, they went in and looked at it and they were like, oh, that year they did that, and that year they did that. So, from 84, yeah. So, I would like to hear what the kids think about it.
So, once a survey is provided, once we have the data from the survey, do you want us to then move to start these projects, or are we waiting until another board meeting before projects start?
Well, I'm assuming these would be the last thing that's done in these rooms, correct?
I mean, not necessarily, because the other furniture, there's not a lot of demolition or things like that. It's just pulling tables out and putting tables in.
I mean, I would like to see the survey, I would like to know the cost. You know, what the cost would be and, you know, versus the alternative, right? So versus we paint it or versus, you know, we have the kids do work or whatever the results are. I mean, as far as, I mean, y'all can have a different opinion, but that's my personal opinion. I would like to know what the students think and I would like to know the cost for it.
We'll work on getting the survey out.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity for, I mean, one of the things you're doing here, and it's not being really stated, is essentially brand consistency throughout the schools. One thing of doing in graphics is that it maintains that consistency. But I do think Leslie brings up a point as far as for buy-in and personalization and being connected to the school. There's also the opportunity, I mean, we literally have RISE awards, and we have an opportunity for the values to be incorporated into some of these graphics as well. There's a ton of opportunities. I guess if you're going back to the subcontractor, you may just ask them as well as how would their pricing structure change if this was a phased project too. So like on the storefront, I don't know that painting that glass is
Oh, no, not the glass,
so I
not
think
the
that
glass.
was gonna need to be
Not the glass.
graphics, so I think there's some elements to that too.
Would it be possible to do something in the front hall? I know that the glass will be changed, but something that speaks to the strategic plan and the tenets of the school.
Well, there is a plan to actually frame the strategic plan, and to have the strategic plan framed for not only here at the school board office, but also for the school. So the strategic plan is consistent throughout the region, and in a place where it's consistent.
Now, I know you said at the elementary school, this is like the pledge that they do, the creative, safe, responsible. Do we have something similar at the high school? Like I know at Gloucester, we have like the Duke Way, and it's, you know, be respectful, responsible, engaged. Is there something?
So that,
Because then we could incorporate that into it.
so the work that we started with this group, that's what we're working on this summer is, you know, some people call it a behavior matrix or expectations. So to get that, since we have student input and teacher input on that now, to form that, because Dr. Fraser and I've talked, we'd like to see that as well throughout the hallways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, so once the survey is completed, I will share that information with the board and also share cost information with the board.
Okay. Items under study. Ms. Roach, she's got a couple applications to talk to us about.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. You all have a copy of the consolidated application and the title for the application, and then an executive summary for both. So I'm just gonna go over the highlights of the executive summary. I'm hoping that will be helpful as you go through the documents over the next month. So the 24-25 final allocations will be released for both of those applications in June. The allocations that you see on your current applications are from the 23-24 school year. So those allocations will change once the final allocations are released, which is typically in July-ish, August time, and then sometimes they're amended again, and then amended again. So, but that's when we can expect to have some more information about that. So in terms of the third bullet down, when you see the note that says pages 7, 11, 12, and 13, that's talking about the larger application, which is the consolidated application. You'll see a review of our 23-24 goals, how we did, what we mastered, what we're still working on, and what the proposed 24-25 goals are. That is directly related to our math, our reading, and our frontline, which is our teacher evaluation goal. Page 8 gives you a summary of the responsibilities of what we are funding with that money. which is our Title I teacher salary and our administrator for student interventions and instruction. Both of those positions are at the elementary school. So that's the summary of the first part. Title I, improving academic achievement for disadvantaged students, specifically is related to our elementary school. It's determined by our free and reduced lunch numbers, which Misty spoke to before, 44.4%. There's no changes in the utilization of those Title I funds, and you'll see the amount there. Again, you'll see that all funds are used for the partial payment of our Title I teacher salary and benefits. And then there is a change to our homeless set aside because we have some more students that we are supporting. So you'll see if we compared last year's to this year's, you will see an increase in that number. Our Title II allocation is for preparing, training, and recruiting high-quality teachers and principals. We have two sources of funding that come under that title. The first is that first amount that you see, the $16,000. That goes to supporting our Title II Administrator of Instruction and Student Interventions. Again, if you go to that page 8, you'll see a list of all of the responsibilities that fall under that job description. And you'll see the personnel associated with that. What we have done over the past 2 years is transferred our Title IV funds to Title II. It was first to fund our frontline teacher evaluation system, and now it's to continue the implementation. We've had great success. The data surrounding the goals in terms of the usage of that system has been, we are so close to meeting that goal, and we've made huge strides in our observations, our walkthroughs, our evaluations, summative evaluations. It has allowed us to help identify what teacher needs are, professional development needs, immediate feedback, meetings, self-assessments, post-conferences, getting everything streamlined in one place, allowing administrators to be able to access different personnel if needed. So that has been a huge shift for us. We would like to continue that, and you'll see our next proposed goal for the Title II frontline teacher evaluation system goal listed in the application. And the Title III application supports our students with EL services. We don't receive a lot of funding for that. All funds are used for the partial payment of our EL engagement facilitator. We have renamed that description of that position from tutor to engagement facilitator. If you were to look at last year's and look at this year's, we believe that that explains what his responsibilities are in a better way. Not only does he provide direct EL services to our students, but he's also integral in helping with community support for our families, taking students to the doctor and the dentist if needed, helping our students access the mobile dentist that's here, translating, setting up family engagement events. So he provides services and he helps our Spanish-speaking families because he's fluent in Spanish, so we really rely on him a lot in that regard. You will notice a second page because a second look is always better than the first. These are things that I noticed once I submitted the application that I missed the first time around. They're pretty minor, like I had an error with the homeless set-aside matching in 2 different places. So I need to make that change before I submit it to VDOE so that they don't send it back and say we need to do an amendment. But I wanted you to be aware of the change because I can't make any changes after you've reviewed it and approved it. So that is the second page that you'll see. The other, correction I made was there's a goal, and I needed to add the date, like by June 24th, we'll meet this goal. I had to change a year in one of the boxes. So you'll see I just referenced the box number so you can find it.
There's a second sheet she's talking about, that was on the second slide.
If you have any questions when you're going through, please don't hesitate to email me. I'm happy to help direct or highlight or scan you and say, oh, here's where it is. Do you have any questions about the application?
So, Ms. Roach, I'm assuming the plan is to have feedback and approval at the next meeting for this?
Agreed. Yes, and then I can send it on to the VDOE. I have been in communication with all three of the specialists at VDOE. I've sent them a copy of the proposed application for feedback, just to help alleviate amendments. If I get feedback from them, is the board comfortable if I send that to Nate for your review? Okay. Okay, great. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. All right, one more item of study. Pursuing Mr. Leach, Chromebooks.
Right. So Steve and I are your tag team on this presentation. So looking at our Chromebook program, a few years ago we went to the one-to-one program especially for our middle school, high school students. And as we start looking at the pros and cons of that system, and I know Steve is working on collecting those Chromebooks now, which is a huge undertaking. We thought it was good to kind of give you an update on where we're at, and then maybe give some food for thought on where we want to go moving forward. So to recap, again, we started this a few years ago. Chromebook is offered to every student in grade 6 through 12. So that means they can take it home. They're in charge of it. They have a case with it. They have to get it checked every morning coming through the scanners. But we also still have the bring your own device. So looking at how that disparity is between our students, we have 324 requested a Chromebook this year, and then the remaining 117 bring your own device. So they bring their own laptop, they have a tablet, and they are in control of that. So if something happens, they're the ones that have to help repair. Steve and his crew is not fixing student-owned devices. And then at the elementary school, we have sets of Chromebooks in each class. So they will not take them back and forth, but they will have a set of 20 to 24 in their classroom that they can check out for that day. They put it back in their Mobi lab, and it's charged for the night, and it goes back in. So that process seems to be working pretty well. We have some rolling carts, which have helped. So I don't know that we see any change for the elementary school at this time. But I know I'm going to turn it over to Steve, and he's going to talk a little bit about what we're thinking moving forward.
Yeah, so moving forward next year, we like, as Nate said, we like to keep things the way they are since they seem to be working over the elementary school with classroom sets. But at the high and middle school, what we're looking at trying to do is require students to take a school issued device. These devices would be free of charge, of course, to students unless we determine that there was additional damages that have been made to those Chromebooks. So no more BYOD for students at the middle and high school. So purchasing plan, right now currently we have about 519 Chromebooks currently in stock. That includes Chromebooks that we have on 5 different carts that mainly get used for testing. Also loaner devices and the Chromebooks that are already checked out by the students. That number may vary because we're just starting to collect them now, and honestly I don't expect to get 100% return on those devices. So this summer we are planning to purchase 150 Chromebooks, and then each summer moving forward we would probably purchase about 100 Chromebooks. That way we can get on kind of like a 5-year cycle of constantly rotating out the oldest Chromebooks. So that way we're not hit with, having to purchase 500 Chromebooks at one time. So that's the plan there. So some of the benefits of standardized one-to-one is equality, first of all. So all students would have access to the same device with the same applications, which would give them a similar experience with technology. So one of the things with electronic devices, sometimes they can become like a status symbol among students. So it becomes it can become a divide between the haves and the have-nots. So if we standardize on one particular device, then that will kind of bridge that gap, and everybody will have a similar and a standard experience with the technology. The next point is classroom management. So one of the biggest concerns that I hear from teachers in the classrooms is the distractions in the classrooms. Now we can say that you can't have your cell phone in the classroom, but if we support BYOD, there's nothing to stop students from taking their laptop home, installing NES emulator or something like that, and then bringing that into the school and running, playing games in the middle of class. There's not really anything that we can do from a technical standpoint to stop that, unless we just say no more BYOD, and you're going to have to use one of our devices. The next point is tech support. So I believe that we can offer a greater level of tech support to our students. Like Nate said, right now, if it's a personal device, we don't offer really any type of support because applications run differently on different hardware, different operating systems. So it makes it really difficult to offer support for personal devices. If they're all standard, we will know those nuances. We can be proactive in knowing how to handle certain, situations and the way applications react on certain type of hardware. The next point is network load and security. Personal devices do put a strain on our network. They are segmented away from our internal network, so they don't have any access to internal resources, but they can still put a strain on the performance of our network. So if we standardize and students take one of our devices, we can easily keep those unwanted devices off the network altogether. And the last point is insight. If they're managed by us, then we have a lot more insight into being able to pull logs and knowing exactly what is going on those computers. So that's kind of the reasons why we're looking towards.
And I would also say in the classroom management piece, we can also install software on our own devices so that teachers can be sitting here and can see what kids are doing on their Chromebooks and things like that. But if it's a personal device, we're not installing anything on those devices. So from a teacher perspective, you can be seeing what's on their screen. You can screencast to their computers, if you need to send them something.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of stuff that you can do with classroom management. And that's something that I wanted to do for a couple of years now, but the big hurdle has been the BYOD because you can't install the classroom software on personal devices. You really need to have those managed in-house in the Google Admin Console, and then we can give teachers the power back to take control of their classroom.
Is that NetRef you're referring to?
Is it what?
NetRef?
No, but I've heard about one.
That's what we have in Boston.
Yeah, there are several
That's a good
different companies out there that have these management software. It's real powerful.
I think it's also important to know with the tech support piece, while we do not, while CEEP does not provide that support to outside devices, not a day goes by that a student, that something happens to a student's device at school, and they're bringing it to him to get help and support. And he has to explain to them, that's not a school device, so he can't touch it. And for some students, that's frustrating when they're trying to get an assignment done, and they can't get their tech support within the school.
Just tell them reboot and delete their code.
That's always the first thing.
What I'm assuming this is just network access, right? So if a student leaves their Chromebook in their locker, they're at home, they can still access everything via their personal device.
Oh yeah.
On-prem within our network.
Mm-hmm.
Control.
Right.
For the Chromebooks, do we currently offer, insurance that they can purchase, so if they break them, it's covered?
Well, that is actually something that we're talking about,
Okay.
offering for next year. Since if we do this, that's something that, I would probably recommend that we give that as an option if parents want to purchase insurance. I know that's what a lot of other school districts do.
It's pretty inexpensive too.
Yeah, it's not that much, I think,
Yeah.
25.
Yeah, it's not much. And then, how fast are the Chromebooks? Because, so, I just did an activity with my students today, and I needed a whole bunch of Chromebooks and stations, and I didn't want them using their own, so I could have it set up. And oh my goodness, they took forever to turn on and to open things, so,
It really depends on a lot of the specifications on those. If they're older Chromebooks, nowadays you can get Chromebooks with 8 gigs of RAM and like an Intel processor.
Mhm.
Those are obviously going to be a lot faster than ones that.
Is that what we're looking to get?
Yeah, with
Most
the
likely.
newer ones.
Okay.
Yeah, we're looking at probably 8 gigs, which the ones that we have now are 4. So we're looking at doubling the RAM. That's going to help a lot.
And then what do we do with people who do not return their computers?
So we were.
I don't know if that's a question for you or, because back in my day, we didn't have computers, we just had textbooks, and if you didn't return it, you had to pay for them, or not graduate, or whatever it was.
Yeah,
So,
that's
yeah.
what we're looking at right now. If they don't get returned, then they would have to pay a depreciated value
Okay.
of what the Chromebook is.
Okay.
So whatever that, if it's 2 years old, it's depreciated by that time. So
Okay.
we're not going to make you pay what we paid for it brand new.
And what do we think the cost is going to be for the additional $150 for this year?
So the Chromebooks are around $275, $250 to $275, and then you have to purchase the management console licensing fees, and you have to purchase that for every Chromebook. It's for the life of the Chromebook, but you have to purchase that. So a safe number would be like $275 to $300. So you're probably talking for $150, a little over $40,000.
So far we've earmarked 45,000.
45, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have some wiggle room if we need to go up.
Do you need, obviously, if you wanted to implement this for next school year, the sooner the better, what is the plan? Have feedback from this by next meeting as well?
That would be helpful because we have to get all of our ducks in a row and get feedback out there, get information on parents.
Yeah.
And then also schedule any training that we need to do with staff for that classroom management software.
I mean, can we do it?
Yeah,
Y'all have
there's-
feedback, I mean,
no,
let's
there's
give
no
an action
objection.
item today,
As well.
Yeah,
I
let
think that's
them-
a great idea.
unless there's.
We can do that, and we can also, that way we can also get a purchase order done, so we can start, so we get them in and get our tech squads or working on this.
So yeah, do I have a motion to move the Chromebook program to an action item, we'll call it H?
So moved.
Do I have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion, if not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries, so we will vote on the adopt the Chromebook program under our action items, which is next.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Steve. Thank you. All right, on to action items. First up, we have expenses and revenue. We have a motion to approve our expenditures and receive our revenue reports.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, the motion carries. Our cafeteria expenditures, we have a motion to approve those as well.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the motion carries. Personnel, we have a motion to approve personnel recommendations.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. Donations. Quite a few donations this month. We have a motion to approve our donations.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All that opposed, motion carries. A couple motions for tuition students. First up, our initial tuition student applications for 24-25 school year.
Mr. Chair, I will note that an additional item was added to the packet. As Ms. Hursley had a question, at our last meeting about the number of renewals that were outstanding. And so that information has been added to the packet, but, 109 renewals were sent. There are 4 students that are on probation, but all of the other renewals have been returned. So there are the only outstanding would be those 4 students that are on probation, and Dr. Hauser's working with those families and seeing how their students finish the school. And the 7 tuition students that are being approved are those of staff at this time, as we continue to monitor numbers.
Right. So our initial tuition student applicants for 24-25, we have a motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, motion carries. And now our tuition student renewals for 24-25, we have a motion to approve those. We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, motion carries. Next up, we have approving our Virginia Literacy Act curriculum.
So we're asking the board to approve the bookworm curriculum that was presented by, Ms. Farmer.
We have a motion to approve the VLA curriculum.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, motion carries. And lastly, we have a motion to approve our new Chromebook program for a 1-to-1 with no BYOD.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Second, any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, that motion carries. All right, well done. Information, Dr. Frazier, anything in particular you want to call out?
Just a reminder that graduation is Friday.
Yes, it is. Right. All right. Delegations, Mr. Leach. We have 2 delegations. All right, first up, Ms. Alexander. Just tell us who you are and where you live.
Kelsey Alexander, I live across the street at 3206. My kids in middle and high school are Alyssa and Colton Alexander in 8th and 9th. We've lived here since, probably 8 going on 9 years. My husband grew up here. His grandma's 91, she still lives here. We moved here for the schools, primarily, my reason, and to help her. But anyways, aside from all that, like I said, overall they've had a great experience here. And I know getting into middle and high school is funky anyways, but over the last couple of years, things have been a lot more difficult with them. Overall, pretty good kids at school, at home not so. But anyways, but academically they don't really struggle. Socially, it's been a little bit tricky, especially with my oldest, and what they perceive as unfair favoritism, discipline issues with other students, and even I tell them all the time, whatever you expect to happen to someone else, you can take the same punishment if you do that. We're not very, very hard on our kids, but we discipline them at home. I guess the point I'm trying to make is, just like the young lady up here said, these kids see it in the school. She said, we see discipline issues, what are the behavior expectations. Relationships with teachers are not only important for social reasons, but academic. I tutor, and I see it in my own kids and the kids I tutor. If you have a good relationship with a teacher, you probably have a better time in that class. If you don't, you're going to struggle. So, and that goes for my kids who easily get A's and B's, and my tutor kids who struggle. So, I guess I just have concerns with the student-teacher relationships, and I think maybe some of that has to do with, I at first was like, y'all are just whiny baby kids and you need to suck it up for a long time. And then in talking to other parents and hearing stories, there are certain teachers who don't behave properly at school. And that's, our kids are getting 50-50 now. Don't get me wrong, they have great relationships with many of the teachers, and I commend all of them. And then there are some who, I don't know why they're still there. They're not good role models. They put their hands on kids, some of them. The things that come out of their mouth and then getting just, it's not right. And I don't know how to solve these problems. I don't have all the answers. I'm concerned about it. And I'm definitely concerned about the discipline, the code of conduct. Because I sat down with my kids and they're like, well, you know, for example, one of the students who was named the Student of the Month this year got suspended for 3 to 5 days earlier in the year for making a comment about bringing a gun to school. It involved my child. A great kid, I know his family. Meanwhile, let's fast forward a few months, we have a student who's making death threats against my son and other students, and to my knowledge, he got an ATS. I don't see how that's fair. So when I'm sitting down with my kids trying to explain, if you go to school and you do this, this is what's going to happen. We're looking at the code of conduct, and the consequences can range from absolutely nothing other than a call home to possible suspension for different infractions. And I know there are a lot of factors involved in that decision-making process, but from the kids' perspective, it's not fair. And from last year, it was going to teachers, you know, hey, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And with Dr. Daniel, our experience was awful. I sat in his office and it was awful. I was so glad when he left, and I talked to Miss Bird since the beginning of the year, and she's way more on top of things. But she's got a mess to clean up now. So now the kids aren't reporting things. So the teachers don't know what's going on. The principal doesn't know what's going on. You guys don't know what's going on until me as a parent, now I'm frustrated from last year to this year. I've gone to Dr. Frazier, I've gone to Bert. They've all done what they can, but I don't know where the issue lies. I don't know if it's something to do with a combination of things, if the code of conduct can be more precise maybe, so kids know what to expect. Don't be afraid to be hard on these kids. They need it. You know, I mean, I substituted at Charles City for half a year, and students did whatever they wanted because they said, nothing will happen to me if I go to the office. No one's going to do anything. And it's like, here it's going like that, and I don't want it to go like that, because that's not what West Point is. But aside from that, I'm just praying and hoping for a better year next year. It's good to see that the students see it, so it's not just me. But on another note, when a lot of things happened before Leslie did Pi and invited everyone to talk, which I really appreciate, a lot of things came to light about IEP students. The kids I tutor are IEP students. And the young lady here spoke about how kids can get discouraged when their needs aren't being met as far as academics and things like that. I've seen it. With the 2 boys that I tutor, for example, sometimes I think one is just giving up. he's not getting the help that he got last year, and I tutored him last year, and I see a difference. And then I have one who, even though he's like, I'm probably still gonna fail my SOL, but he asked me to come every single day and help him. So I show up. But why aren't they getting this stuff at school? Why are his parents having to pay money for someone to come who's nowhere near as qualified as these teachers? I don't know, I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in the background that I'm not aware of as far as that goes, but I really hope to see something done. The young lady said it. She said, what are you guys doing to help my peers who are struggling? And what are you doing? Because they're going to end up 3 years behind like these elementary kids. And then what? So that's just, I just don't know if you guys are aware of those issues or what's being done, but I definitely will be at more board meetings and watching more of the older ones and, trying to do, I don't know what I can do, but we gotta step up for these. And it's not an
Ms.
attack.
Alexander, we have a 3 minute
I know, I
topic.
appreciate it. I'm gonna
I've
sit
extended
down.
you some.
Just
Yeah,
one
no,
more
no.
thing.
We
I hope this doesn't come off as an attack, because that's
No.
not what it is.
No, we appreciate
so that's all I want to
engagement
say.
and
Yeah,
we
for
appreciate
sure.
you coming here tonight.
Thank you.
So you're welcome. Thank you. All right, Ms. Watson.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening. I am Andrew Wisenhunt. I am very new to West Point. This will be our 2nd year here. We're a military family. And we actually got a house out here based on the school reviews. My husband makes a commute to Fort Lee every single day for work, but we made the decision to come out here for my kids to get a good education. It's very hard coming into a little town, being in high school. My concern is the IEPs. The teachers the support team for the IEPs are absolutely wonderful, but they're stretched thin. I really believe that the workload for them is too much, which in return has made my children fall behind. I feel like there needs to be some professional development, as I spoke to Mr. Frazier about over the summer, for these core teachers on understanding that an IEP is absolutely no discussion. We have to make those accommodations. I'm in education as well, myself, and I know that. There's been several times that it has not been the case in mine in lots of communications, as I've communicated with Ms. Bird. And the situation switched from collaborative classrooms with Ms. Hodges and them, which was a change that West Point made. And just from 1 year to this year, the classrooms that don't have the collaboration and they don't have that chance to go out to that extra support to Ms. Hodges, to Ms. Crump, my son couldn't pass an SOL. I can see the difference in my other son from last year that had those more support and was able to go out and did. My son is hearing impaired, and I have yet to hear from the hearing impaired teacher. The services had an IEP meeting and was given a note card of dates. That's it. My thing to the board is I'm asking for some professional development to these teachers to understand IEPs and support. That is pretty much all I have on that. And to knowing that, maybe more understanding of IEPs. I don't know if they have been there, not as many in the past, and so the workload or the caseload, and I know that we are, have lost a teacher or a IEP teacher that has went out, but we still have to provide those services. And those services have not been met. And I've lived in several states. We've moved every 3 years. We re-enlisted for stability to stay in West Point so my kids could finish school through here. I also have a daughter that's in the 7th grade, one in the 8th grade. She's not on an IEP, but for that stability and for that piece, and I have to say that this has been the worst IEP experience that we have had. And I'm just hoping that change and maybe that, you know, we can get some more, they can get some more special education support that are needed even outside of those outside classrooms, because if you have a sensory or processing disorder, you're gonna struggle in history, you're gonna struggle in biology, not just your math and English. So those other classes to be looked at as well. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Griswold. Got a few things coming up for our June agenda items there, which our meeting will be the 18th. Is that right, it's still 6?